If you're under 40 years old, you've been getting hammered by housing prices. But you've already known this. Over the last decade, housing prices have surged by over 50%. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore the root causes of these incredible price hikes and what the future looks like to bring affordability back to all of us. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Kyler. I'm one of the co-founders of Joy, the AI real estate agent. And my co-founder and I have launched several real estate software companies over the last decade. And like all of you, we've noticed one thing in particular happening in the real estate market. And that's that home prices continue to go up and to the right, which is pissing me off because it's pricing so many young people out of the market. So in this video, we're going to explore the root causes of why this is happening, who's really to blame, and what the future could look like to bring affordability back to all of us. Okay, so before we get into the root causes of what is pushing home prices up, let's look at how much home prices have been going up. So what we're going to jump to is FRED data, which is Federal Reserve Economic Data. So very reliable data. And what we're looking at here is average sales price of houses sold for the United States. So if we jump to Q1 2024, we can see that in that time period, homes on average were selling for $519,700. So yes, over $500,000, absolutely insane. Now, if we jump all the way to, let's jump to Q1 1984, homes were selling for $94,700. So over a 40-year period, home prices increased by 5.5x. But let's just look in the previous 10 years from Q1 2024. So if we look at Q1 2014, the average home being sold in the United States was $331,400. So from Q1 2014 to Q1 2024, we saw roughly a 56.8% increase in home prices in the United States. So obviously a huge jump, incredible. What I also want to just quickly look at is real median household income and compare that to how fast home prices have been increasing. And yes, this data has inflation taken into account on it. So in 1984, the median household income was $58,930. In 2023, which is the most recent this data was collected, the median household income was $80,610, which is roughly a 37.3% increase over 40 years. Remember, from 1984 to 2024, homes had increased by 5.5x. So I just really wanted to highlight how much homes have been increasing relative to not just the price of homes, but also to median household income. I mean, things are skyrocketing. Okay, so now that we have a good understanding about how much home prices have actually gone up, let's look at the two root causes, one being interest rates and the second being housing inventory. So let's jump back in and look at FRED data and understand what is happening with interest rates. So what you're seeing here is 30-year fixed rate mortgage averages in the United States. So this data started getting collected back on April 2nd, 1971, when the interest rate was 7.33%, which seems like a lot today, but it really isn't when you're buying a $50,000 home, right? So what I want to do is bring your eyes all the way to 2008, because in 2008, there was a financial crisis basically caused by the United States real estate market. And to keep basically the entire economy in the world from collapsing, we needed to make sure that the real estate market in the United States didn't collapse. So what the government did is start to cut interest rates, because when they cut interest rates, it basically allows people to borrow money cheaply and buy more houses, right? And that allows housing prices to stay relatively high, right? So in 2008, interest rates started to get cut. And basically from 2008 all the way to COVID, interest rates were under 4%. And then once COVID hit, interest rates got below 3%, right? And then towards the end of 2021 and mid 2022, interest rates started to jump quite a bit. But basically from 2008 to mid 2022, interest rates were under 5% and sometimes under 3%. So a lot of people bought properties and bought homes during that time, So there's a lot of people locked in with very low interest rates. And just to give you an understanding of how impactful an interest rate is, if you have an interest rate of 7.66, let's say on a $430,000 loan, your monthly payment is $3,054. But if that interest rate was 2.66%, your monthly payment is $1,735. So a drastic decrease in what you would pay on a month-to-month basis on an interest rate like that. So a lot of people are locked in at very low interest rates, which has now pushed another issue onto us, which is there is very low housing inventory, right? So right now, or on, let's take a look at when this data was last taken, July 2024, there was 1.33 million homes on the market. So if we look back to July 2014, there was 2.35 million homes on the market. So a million more homes on the market than there are today. So where we're at is basically interest rates are high. So all the people that bought homes before interest rates went high between 2008 and mid 2022, which were a lot of people bought homes during that time, don't want to sell their home because they have a very affordable monthly mortgage that they can pay, right? And if they were to sell their home, very likely they couldn't get the same level of home because it's so expensive to buy a home now. And now there's less inventory when there's a whole bunch of new buyers, aka young people, millennials, and Gen Zers. And so competition and demand is still pushing prices up. So these are the two root causes. It's basically interest rates and housing supply that have kept housing prices so dang high for young people. Okay, so how do we solve the housing pricing issue? Well, I believe there are two ways. The first one is the obvious one, is that we need way more houses out there. So we need to get back to building. And so local governments, I believe, need to make it easier and more streamlined for builders to get out there and start building. I don't know if you've ever been through a permitting process before, but it could take ages. So we definitely need to allow builders to get back to building. And the second point that I think will bring down housing prices is that we really need a lot more innovation in the real estate space. It really hasn't changed for decades, which is insane. While every other industry has changed drastically, real estate has basically stayed the same. So we need innovation in different financial products to help people get different types of loans, to help buy homes, to help finance their home outside of like the traditional mortgages that are out there. And you need solutions like Joy, the AI real estate agent, to make buying a home more affordable and easy and simple. So at Joy, we rebate most of what a real estate agent would make when they help you buy a home. We rebate that back to home buyers. So if you're looking for an affordable way to buy a home, you should definitely check out Joy. But on top of that, if you're someone out there and you think you've got an idea on how to bring housing prices down, you should definitely pursue that because it is one of the biggest challenges in the US today. And honestly, not just a challenge in the US, it's a global challenge across the world. Anywhere in the Western world, home prices have continued to skyrocket, and it's basically due to the same issues. There's not enough homes and there's not enough innovation in the space. So young people, it's time to come together. It's time to figure something out, and it's time to do something different.